All right, greetings. Welcome back to Black Bear News, where everything is connected, and all the viewers are smarter than the average bear. And of course, everybody and their mama is live right now, because in anticipation of RFK Jr.'s announcement, which is actually happening in a couple of minutes, and that it's going to be live, I'm sure, on X and on YouTube and stuff, but I'm gonna tune into that. So it's supposed to happen at 11:30. So don't think it's happening yet. So we'll tune in. I think it's 11:30. Anyways, everybody is live right now. Everybody, and so are we. we're live. Well, we'll see. There's a lot to talk about. What's this? Hold on one second. Is it the same one? My audio is going all over the place. So I'm sorry about that. That my audio is going all over the place. All right, here we go. It's a StreamYard thing. Welcome everyone. We're live on Rockfin, Rumble, and on YouTube. I see Denver and Osama on Rockfin. You can be, all right, cool. Denver, I remember you saying something about that turning plastic and PFAS into graphene. Nanotech requires more biologically absorbed graphene to be able to carry it. That is interesting, right? Isn't it? PFAS and plastic turning into graphene. It's either interesting or incredibly coincidentally fortuitous, right? I don't know. Right? If all the ambient plastic and PFAS can turn into graphene, presto changeo. Watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. Anyways, that is well, incredibly interesting link, right? The premise is that nanotech, well, we can even get into it with, the premise is that if you get graphene into people, you can control them, right? The graphene is like an antenna, I guess, or a messenger for, hey, cat scratch fever. And there were a lot of people saying that there were medical treatments, nudge nudge, wink wink, that introduced graphene into people in order to do something in the future. But if you can turn plastic and PFAS into graphene, it's already there. So that's interesting. Very interesting. Anyways, it's a hot Friday. Not temperature wise. It's a beautiful day here. It's not going to be blazing hot today. It's just a nice balmy summer day. So I am enjoying that. It's cool, many degrees cooler than it usually is in the studio. Hemp Car asks, how can plastic turn into a new element? Well, I think there's a link here. I mean, I didn't necessarily want to go down this road immediately, but that's fine. Very quickly, scientists find a way to upcycle microplastics into valuable material called graphene. Hemp Car, it's the scientists. They figured it out. Those wizards with lab coats. They figured it out. Max RJ, point taken. People like cats, and if you had cats on your program, then you would have more viewers. Exactly. I haven't been able to find a steady co-host. Not that I was necessarily looking for one, but maybe my cat shall be my co-host. If dog is my co-pilot, then my cat will be my co-host. Anyways, researchers from James Cook University have developed a method to convert microplastics into graphene, a highly valuable material comprised of a single layer of carbon atoms. The new technique, atmospheric pressure microwave plasma synthesis. So, well, I guess, I don't know. I don't know how, I guess you couldn't really do this in the wild, could you? Or maybe you can. Transforms ground up plastic bottles into graphene in just 1 minute. This graphene is extremely strong. Hey. God damn it. Hold on. Hey, get off that. Get off. Sorry. My cat was about to do something really dumb, which was going to turn into a lot of work for me. Okay. Graphene is extremely strong, lightweight, with potential applications in sensors and water purification. This method not only advances graphene production, but also addresses microplastic pollution. Wow. Weird. God damn it. Fuck. You fucking stupid ass. All right. I'm over the animals today. That was the sound of my cat knocking over my snare drum. Jesus fucking Christ. Hey, I'm going to kick you out of here. All right. Sorry, trying to refocus. All right. All right. Anyways, interesting ideas here. Yeah, I know it's funny to you guys, but that was my snare drum. I cannot have a broken snare drum at this point in time. All right. So, yeah. Anyways, people are in. Everybody's live streaming right now because people are anticipating RFK Jr. to drop out and endorse Trump. Although apparently there was a bit of a squabble about it, and we'll watch this from. This is Nicole Shanahan, the VP, saying they're hesitant about joining forces with Trump, and here's why. Well, I appreciate that they are. I guess, that they're being honest about their process. And this is this is an out loud, in public statement of why they're hesitant, and it's a really good reason. Personally, I think the whole idea of dropping out and endorsing Trump is absolutely plain bonkers. That's my personal opinion. But it's become new in some ways. I guess it's gotten. Well, think of it as this. This is really good press for them. Now my cat is like running around the shelves with all the chemicals. I'm not really happy about that. So, this is actually bringing a lot of attention to their campaign. So maybe this is just a campaign maneuver. I don't know. Hesitation we're having right now in joining forces with Trump is that he has not apologized or publicly come out and said Operation Warp Speed was his fault. Y'all know what Warp Speed is? I think y'all do. Do we need to explain? The vaccinations, the lockdowns, letting Fauci and Francis Collins run the show, the firing of other folks at the NIH and individuals at the CDC that were censored. There was a lot that happened under Donald Trump's watch that should not have happened and cannot happen again. Well, yeah. Which is why, the idea that Donald Trump is like an outsider and not a deep state, puppet himself is also laughable on a lot of levels, right? Holy shit. I need to kick this cat out of here because he's going crazy. Hold on a second, guys. I'm going to come right back to you. All right. Sorry for all the interruptions. I apologize. My cat is in the stage of life which is like I can get into everything and I will. And I will absolutely knock everything off of any table, shelf, or elevated platform that I can possibly knock off. Yeah, I mean, Donald Trump proved in his first presidency that he's just as much in cahoots with the swamp as anybody else. So it's just this idea that he's somehow an outsider is laughable. Absolutely laughable. Let's see. Well, let's look at this link. I know we're kind of going all over the place today. It's cool. It's a Friday. We're hanging out here. We're hanging out. We're kind of waiting to see if, I mean, the RFK announcement. Who knows how long that's gonna. I don't have high hopes for getting any information from that. Atmospheric microwave plasma technology, high temperatures, and the power to X applications. What? Contact-free plasma, generate a contact-free plasma while ensuring stable operation for a wide parameter range of gas types, gas flow, and microwave power. 2.45 gigahertz and 915 megahertz. Muegis microwave plasma torches are well suited for both the synthesis of special gases and assisting chemical reactions with highly reactive gas specific. This is key for many power to X applications such as power to gas and power to chemicals. Wow. Okay, well, there you go. This is how you do it. 25 minutes from now going south? Is that what you said? They said 1:15. Anyways, I have it up, so whenever they turn on, we'll check it out. Bella says, I read his book. I have no further use for him. Okay. All right. Well, anyways. Yeah, I just don't see how
the hesitation we have right now in joining forces with Trump is that he has not apologized or publicly come out and said Operation Warp Speed was my fault. It was a failure and I let it happen. I'll never let it happen again.
The vaccinations, right.
I mean, all of it.
Right.
The lockdowns, the letting Fauci and Francis Collins run the show.
Yes.
The firing of the other folks at the NIH and individuals at the CDC that were censored. I mean, there was a lot that happened under Donald Trump's watch that should not have happened.
Yes.
And cannot happen again. And if we are going to put our bet with him, and we have not confirmed anything, but we need absolute assurance that he, this is a tough one. Yeah,
okay. And that's why this is that's why this is a excuse me, a bit of a boondoggle. But yeah, you're going to get an assurance. And then I was just saying, there are a couple of issues that I could see leaning towards Trump with. And when I say a couple, I really mean like two. over Harris, but the idea that he's going to do what he promises is also ridiculous too, right? That there aren't more problems that come with what you think might be a solution than, whatever. I'm not suggesting to anybody that you actually believe what these folks are saying. All right. People coming in casually. It's all good. We're live on Rumble too. If you want to watch on Rumble, we are here. But Whitney Webb puts in some good insight also into this. The inevitable embrace of the Trump campaign by RFK Jr. will see one of the COVID era's most prominent and promoted skeptics embrace the man whose administration established the early COVID policies and military-run op warp speed. What a world and what a disappointment. She goes on to say, perhaps the worst part is that the people who cared about accountability for what came downstream of Operation Warp Speed, as well as the mass theft of American wealth from COVID fiscal policy, i.e. going direct, and government policy from Birx, Fauci, etc., no longer care, nor maybe never did. Trump still stands by his admin's COVID-era decisions, including Warp Speed, and also includes the COVID-era QE, going direct, and putting Larry Fink in charge of the U.S. fiscal response to lockdowns that resulted in the greatest wealth transfer in U.S. history. True, true, and true. If you think Trump learned his lesson about COVID when he still declares Warp Speed a triumph, and it will be a different time next time, it will be different next time because RFK Jr. endorsed him, you may be high as a kite on conservative flavored hopium. Policy records matter, and so does accountability. Yeah. And then somebody else actually says, viral architect, would you rather he join up with the people who tried to forcibly inject every man and woman and child in America with the poison bioweapon? Well, if he was really against, maybe he wouldn't endorse the administration that did mandates or the administration that made said bioweapon, right? So pointing out same. All right. Let's look at this. There's a climate conference and then there's a biodiversity conference, Council of the Parties. We must restore nature to avoid global catastrophe, warns Biodiversity Summit president. And it's probably the Biodiversity Summit is probably more important than the climate change summit. But you know that the Biodiversity Summit does not get the attention nor the support that the climate change summit gets. And I wonder why. Just cutting carbon emissions will not prevent climate breakdown, says Susanna Mohammed before COP16 in Colombia. Humanity risks catastrophic global heating if it focuses only on decarbonization at the expense of restoring the natural world. Colombia's environment minister has said in the lead up to the world's key nature summit later this year. Susanna Mohammed, who will be president of the UN Biodiversity COP16 summit in Cali in October, said that a singular focus on cutting carbon emissions while failing to restore and protect natural ecosystems would be dangerous for humanity and risk societal collapse. While laying out her vision for the meeting during a press briefing in Montreal, Canada, Muhammad said a main focus would be to raise political awareness for the natural world to keep humanity in safe planetary limits. Yeah, there's a double movement humanity must make. This first one is to decarbonize and have a just energy transition. Well, scratch on that. The other side of the coin is to restore nature and allow nature to take again its power over planet Earth so we can really stabilize the climate. This actually is way more important than whatever that decarbonization statement was. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you want to see the article? My bad. While the nature crisis has risen up the global political agenda with the 2022 UN agreement to halt the loss of biodiversity by the end of the decade, cue laugh track. The nature summits, which take place every 2 years, do not enjoy the same attention from governments and world leaders as meetings about the climate, which are attended by tens of thousands of delegates every year. I wonder why. Because the loss of biodiversity actually says more about how we treat the planet than emissions is how you can kind of wall off a particular subject, if you're just talking about emissions. And are they doing anything about emissions either? I mean, they're really not, other than lying about them. Yeah. Sean says climate change solutions also solve biodiversity loss, veganic farming, and mainly a plant-based diet. Malcolm Young, too late. Wetlands have already tipped an insect as food source for nature is almost gone. It's happening. It will be too hard to stop. Yeah, that's probably where we're at. Although, a real solution is better than a fake solution. Yeah, I know. There's so many people on this Twitter RFK page that I don't even know if it's going to work. Yeah, I mean, we have the luxury of being able to talk about this with a functioning society. So we're in a really great place for the moment. I'm not saying we're going to stay there. But if we're going to do something, why we still have a functioning civilization is probably the time to do it, and not when everything is falling apart. But probably not going to happen. Floodwaters in Newark, New Jersey, submerging parked cars. This is happening now. These are the things that they're saying, or they used to say, or say now, that are going to happen in the future when things get really bad for the climate. They're happening right now, actually. And you can see it every day, or you can just wake up and go outside and notice lots of things are different. This is Tokyo, Japan. They got smashed in the last couple of days. Wow, the frame rate is actually not too bad I was working on StreamYard. This is the difference between it's probably maybe 10 degrees cooler in here than it usually is. Hopeful. Malaysia. I mean, I could just show the entire show. I could show flooding videos. Major floods due to torrential rainfall in Langkawi of Malaysia. Did you like how I said that? Langkawi. All right. Hold on one second. Okay. Saudi Arabia recorded a heat index at midnight of 100. Is this? I can't. This is 134 degrees. 134. How do people live in that? I mean, I can't imagine that everybody is inside an air conditioned box in Saudi Arabia, right? How do people survive that? I'm sure they have ways. All right, we're going to move over to we're going to move over to the ridiculousness of the Democratic National Convention. And why are we talking about this? Because the Democrats are supposed to be the good people. That's why. Because there's supposed to be a difference between the Democrats and the Republicans. We already know the Republicans are goofballs. Like, we don't, that's there's that's kind of like an of course thing, but it's the thing about, the people out there running around trying to tell you that these are the good guys. We're just trying to poke holes in that. That's all. And that's fine. That's a totally worthy, valid thing to do. To dispel people of the idea that either of these parties or people care about you or are going to fix the problem. And that, one more thing I'm going to add, that somehow things are going to get better. And I'm telling you, things are going to get worse. Things have been getting worse. If you've been paying attention, again, just like climate change, if you wake up every morning and look out or look around you and you go like, wow, things are kind of weird. I mean, for on an individual level and maybe a professional level, things can get better. But if you look at the world, if you look at things with the macro lens and you zoom out and you kind of look at how things are going, right? We are here, how things are going. Here's the map. Here's the timeline. And you see that things, aren't going in the up direction. And if you really are paying attention, they haven't been going in the up direction for a long time. They've been going in the down direction. Why are we here? Well, this is why. One of the main reasons is that people keep falling for the okie doke. They keep trying to kick a field goal with Lucy. Sure. You want to play some football? Sure. And you keep ending up as Charlie Brown flying through the air. You're wondering what's happening. Well, so we're going to try and dispel ourselves of the idea that there are solutions in these two parties and that, something else needs to happen. Needs to be a lot more pressure and a lot more organization from people at large in order to change the direction historically the macro direction of how things are going and where they're going. That's the point. John Stewart.
Hispanic, they had black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, gay Americans, Jewish Americans, Palestinian oh. Well, to be fair, it was only 4 nights, 8 hours a night. They had black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Asian Americans, gay Americans, Jewish Americans.
Anyways. Chicago police repeatedly harassed the press, and threatened them with arrest if they try to film the arrests of protesters taking place. They're threatening.
You're not getting any further than that tree back there.
And this is an attack on your constitutional right of free speech. So the police are actually breaking the law. If that matters, they're attacking the constitutional right of people of the press and of free speech, and it's, and we can go on and on. Anyways.
Sergeant just gave you an order behind that tree. Not to move any further than right here, off the sidewalk.
It's all press, by the way.
Get back over there. He told you to be back over here, but he gave an order. You're to be back over here with the rest of the media. You're to be back over here with the rest of the media. Move back. Move back. You're to be back over here. Right there.
Is this an ordinance or an order?
Right here.
We got lawyers all over. Yeah, with press.
You're staying right here.
Is that an order or an
Yeah,
ordinance?
it's an order.
Or is it a violation of the First Amendment? What is the First Amendment? Sir, do you have comment?
Well, there you go. Democrats and the police protecting them, just upholding your human rights, because they're the one that care. The ones that care. Bling, 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 bling. Nico House. Did Michelle Obama really say that she, Kamala, and the Democrats don't have to cheat or change the rules to win? This is a really good video. Let's watch Nico for a bit.
Did Michelle Obama really just say that the Democratic Party does not need to cheat to get ahead or change the rules so they could win? In yesterday's speech at the Democratic National Convention, Michelle Obama was giving a speech describing the values of not only the Democratic Party, but Kamala Harris herself, trying to give a contrast of them and the Republican Party. Now, in this speech, she actually said that the Democrats don't have to cheat or change the rules so that they could win. And obviously that sounded a little bit strange to me. So I had to go do some fact checking. As early as this year, both Democrats and Republicans decided to change the first debate to before the conventions. And then, just so RFK Jr. couldn't gain a spot because he met all the polling and constitutional requirements, they changed the rules again to make it so that you had to be able to prove that you're on the ballot and can win 270 electoral votes. There has quite literally never been a debate that happened before a convention, ever. And both Jill Stein and RFK Jr. were in the middle and are in the middle of suing multiple states because the Democrats are trying to keep them off the ballots. So they couldn't prove that they could make 270 electoral votes and therefore couldn't make the debate stages. Or there's that time in 2020 where Tulsi Gabbard was one of only 3 Democratic primary candidates left, earned a spot on the debate stage, and then the Democratic National Committee changed the rules at the last minute without really giving a reason as to why. But everybody paying attention at that time knows that Tulsi had legitimate criticisms of both Bernie Sanders and Joe Biden, and they didn't want those criticisms being aired out with just 3 candidates on stage for the entire country to see. And then there is the infamous 2016 Democratic primary election, where there was cheating so egregious by the Democratic Party, Tulsi Gabbard dropped from her vice chairmanship for the party to endorse Bernie because of how bad it was. And then the entire party, after denying cheating, eventually had to admit that they were cheating and do a damn unity tour with Bernie Sanders in order to try to win his voters back. And in 2016, they didn't necessarily change the rules in order to cheat, but they damn sure went into court during the DNC fraud lawsuit and argued, we don't gotta change the rules because we don't have to follow the rules. And we can cheat whoever the hell we want to, whenever we damn well want to, because it's our party and y'all can't do anything about it. We can even go back as far as the 1944 coup against the vice president of FDR, Henry Wallace, where the Democratic Party decided to literally rig the Democratic National Convention in the middle of the night and replace the current VP with none other than Henry S. Truman. And we all know what the hell happened after that. Literally every problem we have in the US can damn near be traced back to that one decision. A decision made, by the way, by the Democrats and upheld by the Democrats. Hell, we can literally fast forward back to 2023 where the Democrats literally
the party which I pledged my own allegiance to long before I was old enough to vote. I attended my first Democratic convention at the age of 6 in 1960. And back then, the Democrats were the champions of the Constitution, of civil rights. The Democrats stood against authoritarianism, against censorship, against colonialism, imperialism, and unjust wars. We were the party of labor, of the working class. The Democrats were the party of government transparency and the champion of the environment. Our party was the bulwark against big money interests and corporate power. True to its name, it was the party of democracy. As you know, I left that party in October because it had departed so dramatically from the core values that I grew up with. It had become the party of war, censorship, corruption, big pharma, big tech, big ag, and big money. When it abandoned democracy by canceling the primary to conceal the cognitive decline of the sitting president, I left the party to run as an independent. The mainstream of American politics and journalism derided my decision. Conventional wisdom said that it would be impossible even to get on the ballot as an independent because each state poses an insurmountable tangle of arbitrary rules for collecting signatures. I would need over 1 million signatures, something no presidential candidate in history had ever achieved. And then I'd need a team of attorneys and millions of dollars to handle all the legal challenges from the DNC. The naysayers told us that we were climbing a glass version of Mount Impossible. So the first thing I want to tell you is that we proved them wrong. We did it because beneath the radar of mainstream media organs, we inspired a massive independent political movement. More than 100,000 volunteers sprang into action, hopeful that they could reverse our nation's decline. Many worked 10-hour days, sometimes in blizzards and blazing heat. They sacrificed family time, personal commitments, and sleep month after month, energized by a shared vision of a nation healed of its divisions. They set up tables at churches and farmers markets. They canvassed door to door. In Utah and in New Hampshire, volunteers collected signatures in snowstorms, convincing each supporter to stop in the frigid cold, to take off their gloves, and to sign legibly. During a heat wave in Nevada, I met a tall, athletic volunteer who cheerfully told me that he had lost 25 pounds collecting signatures in 117-degree heat. To finance this effort, young Americans donated their lunch money, and senior citizens gave up part of their Social Security checks. Our 50-state organization collected those millions of signatures and more. No presidential campaign in American political history has ever done that. And so I want to thank all of those dedicated volunteers and congratulate the campaign staff who coordinated this enormous logistical feat. Your accomplishments were regarded as impossible. You carried me up that glass mountain. You pulled off a miracle. You achieved what all the pundits said could never be done. You have my deepest gratitude, and I'm never going to forget that, not just for what you did for my campaign, but for the sacrifices you made because you love our country. You showed everyone that democracy is still possible here. It continues to survive in the press and in the idealistic human energies that still thrive beneath the canvas of neglect and of official and institutional corruption. Today, I'm here to tell you that I will not allow your efforts to go to waste. I'm here to tell you that I will leverage your tremendous accomplishments to serve the ideals that we share, the ideals of peace, of prosperity, of freedom, of health, all the ideals that motivated my campaign. I'm here today to describe the path forward that you've opened with your commitment and with your hard labors. Now, in an honest system, I believe that I would have won the election. In a system the kind that my father and my uncles thrived in, a system with open debates, with fair primaries, with regularly scheduled debates, with fair primaries, and with a truly independent media untainted by government.
So what he's saying is it's too hard.
In a system of nonpartisan courts and election boards, everything would be different.
True.
After all, the polls consistently showed me beating each of the other candidates, both in favorability and also in head-to-head matchups. But I'm sorry to say that while democracy may still be alive at the grassroots, it has become little more than a slogan for our political institutions, for our media, and for our government, and most sadly at all for me, the Democratic Party. In the name of saving democracy, the Democratic Party set itself to dismantling it, lacking confidence in its candidate, that its candidate could win in a fair election at the voting booth. The DNC waged continual legal warfare against both President Trump and myself. Each time that our volunteers turned in those towering boxes of signatures needed to get on the ballot, the DNC dragged us into court, state after state, attempting to erase their work and to subvert the will of the voters who had signed those petitions. It deployed DNC-aligned judges to throw me and other candidates off the ballot and to throw President Trump
he's literally
in jail.
saying
It ran
the system is so rigged.
That was rigged to prevent any
I can't go on.
President Biden. Then, when a predictably debate performance precipitated the palace coup against President Biden, the same shadowy DNC operatives appointed his successor, also without an election.
Gene, let me know how the
candidate
tofu goes.
Who was so unpopular with voters that she dropped out in 2020 without winning a single delegate.
This is
My
this is
uncle and my
this is
father
really
both
sad.
relished debate. They prided
It's one, yeah, blackmail much. Well, that's the other thing too. Is do you think
in the battle over ideas?
do you think
They would be astonished to learn of a Democratic Party presidential nominee.
Bernie Sanders and anybody else who attempts to mount like a third party run or a outsider run? Do you think that they're all Winston Smith? Do you think they're all taken into a room? I mean, I totally believe that they are. They're taken into a room, or they run into a group of people somewhere, and they get surrounded, and they're like, "Listen, man,
My father and my uncle
here's how it's going to go."
Conscious of America's image abroad because of our nation's role as the template for democracy.
Or it can happen in various ways, right? So many different ways.
Free world. Instead of showing us her substance and character,
And
the DNC and
he is no different. So it either takes it either takes
based upon
a will of made of steel, right? You need to be willing to
only smoke and mirrors.
End up getting well stoned or
Reduce Chicago's
something.
There in Chicago, a string of Democratic speakers.
You need to be willing to go down with the ship.
Just on the first day.
Literally go down.
Who needs a policy when you have
so far down? In order to go up against this,
was mentioned only twice in 4 days.
Exactly.
I do interviews every day.
Exactly, Bella.
Interviewed me. Anybody who asks gets to interview me. Some days I do as many as 10.
It's also really good. Gene, do you ever have?
And won an election.
I think it's called curtido. The cabbage that they serve with like pupusas in the South. You make a little like vinegar. I think it's vinegar, salt, and I think that's it. Something else. It's like cabbage, onions, and carrots, and you mix that all together. It's so delicious. But like the longer it sits and ferments in the fridge, the better it tastes. So good.
Internal affairs or runs its candidates. What alarms me is the resort to censorship and media control and the weaponization of the federal agencies. When a U.S. president colludes with or outright coerces media companies to censor political speech, it's an attack on our most sacred right of free expression. And that's the very right upon which all of our other constitutional rights rest. President Biden mocked Vladimir Putin's 88% landslide in the Russian elections, observing that Putin and his party controlled the Russian press and that Putin prevented serious opponents from appearing on the ballot. But here in America, the DNC also prevented opponents from appearing on the ballot. And our television networks expose themselves as Democratic Party organs. Over the course of more than a year in a campaign where my poll numbers reached at times in the high 20s, the DNC-aligned mainstream media networks maintain a near perfect embargo on interviews with me. During his 10-month presidential campaign in 1992, Ross Perot gave 34 interviews on mainstream networks. In contrast, during the 16 months since I declared, ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, and CNN combined gave only 2 live interviews from me. Those networks instead ran a continuous deluge of hit pieces with inaccurate, often vile, pejoratives and defamatory smears. Some of those same networks and colluded with the DNC to keep me off the debate stage. Representatives of those networks are in this room right now, and I'll just take a moment to ask you to consider the many ways that your institutions have abdicated this really sacred responsibility, the duty of a free press to safeguard democracy and to challenge always the party in power. Instead of maintaining that posture of fear, skepticism toward authority, your institutions have made themselves government mouthpieces
Okay.
and stenographers for the organs of power. You didn't alone cause the devolution of American.
Anyways, guys, if you
could have
if you like this channel, if you like
the Democratic Party's censorship of social media.
if you like this channel showing up every day for free $99 Monday through Friday, and you like being here, and you want the show to continue going, and you're considering supporting the show by making a financial donation, I support that decision. So there are lots of donation links in the description box. All the usuals are there: Venmo, Cash App, Zelle, etc.
Just 37 hours after he took the oath of office, swearing to uphold.
You can use any of those to make a donation to the show, and I do appreciate you if you make that decision. To those that support the show, you know who you are, and I definitely appreciate you.
CISA, which is a censorship.
There are a lot of people watching this, though.
And other agencies to censor me and other political dissidents on social media. Even today, users who try to post my campaign videos to Facebook or YouTube get messages that this content violates community standards. 2 days after Judge Doty rendered his decision this week, Facebook was still attaching warning labels to an online petition calling on ABC.
Well, we may never get to the answer
in the upcoming debate.
The answer we want from
that
this
violates community standards. Their community
broadcast.
standards.
I don't know.
The mainstream media was once the guardian of the First Amendment and democratic principles, and it's joined this systemic attack on democracy. It also, the media justifies their censorship on the grounds of combating misinformation. But governments and oppressors don't censor lies. They don't fear lies. They fear the truth, and that's what they censor. And I don't want any of this to sound like a personal complaint, because it's not. For me, it's all part of a journey, and it's a journey that I signed up with. But I need to make these observations because I think they're critical for us doing the thing that we need to do as citizens in a democracy to assess where we are in this country.
Salt Licker, censorship is a community standard.
And the assumptions about U.S. leadership around the globe. And are we living up?
Adhere to our community standards of self-censorship, or we'll censor you for you.
Or have we made it, a kind of a joke? And here's the good news. While mainstream outlets denied me a critical platform, they didn't shut down my ideas, which have especially flourished among young voters and independent voters, thanks to the alternative media. Many months ago, I promised the American people that I would withdraw from the race if I became a spoiler. A spoiler is someone who will alter the outcome of the election but has no chance of winning. In my heart, I no longer believe that I have a realistic path to electoral victory in the face of this relentless systematic censorship and media control. So I cannot in good conscience ask my staff and volunteers to keep working their long hours or ask my donors to keep giving when I cannot honestly tell them that I have a real path to the White House. Furthermore, our polling consistently showed that by staying on the ballot in the battleground states, I would likely hand the election over to the Democrats with whom I disagree on the most existential issues: censorship, war.
Well, I think we got the idea. He's dropping out.
Oh, I want everyone to know that I am not terminating my campaign.
Oh, no.
I am simply suspending it and not ending it. My name will remain on the ballot in most states. If you live in a blue state, you can vote for me without harming or helping President Trump or Vice President Harris. In red states, the same will apply. I encourage you to vote for me. And if enough of you do vote for me, and neither of the major party candidates win 270 votes, which is quite possible. In fact, today our polling shows them tying at 269 to 269. And I could conceivably still end up in the White House in a contingent election.
Really?
But in about 10 battleground states where my presence would be a spoiler, I'm going to remove my name. And I've already started that process and urge voters not to vote for me. It's with a sense of victory and not defeat that I'm suspending my campaign activities. Not only did we do the impossible by collecting 1 million signatures.
Womp, womp, womp. Every single time. Anyways. You may have run out of money to do what is needed. Sure. I mean, it's hard to run for president. I mean, I get it on some levels, but it's... Yeah. He managed to not get shot. Yeah. All right. Well, let's see here. Hold on. This is an interesting little clip here from Nancy Pelosi. People were had questions about her choice of language here. Hold on. Wait, hold on. This is not the one. This is the real. That clip looks kind of strange, but let's listen to the one that looks like a real clip. Here, hold on.
We're different from the president. We're very discreet, reptilian, cold-blooded. These are the races we have to win.
Discreet, reptilian, and cold-blooded. Great. This is from the party with the heart, We care about you, but we are also reptilian and discreet, and cold-blooded. That's also interesting. The system made sure he didn't have a chance. Yeah. Well, yeah, I don't understand RFK kind of tacitly throwing his support behind Trump there. It's weird. Just weird, y'all. This is a historian and professor of Black Studies, Barbara Ransby. Democrats' support of Israel's military assault on Gaza, which is nothing less than genocide, suggests to me the need to break out of the two-party system. Sure. The Republicans want censorship and war. So do the Democrats. They both do. There is no difference. There is no difference. You will get the same thing.
Where an Ilhan Omar, a Summer Lee, Rashida Tlaib would feel politically much more at home than they do in the Democratic Party. And the other thing I just think is, it is a sobering moment, and I cannot be, enthusiastically supportive of anybody on the ballot. Nobody represents my value. Because of the real difficulty supporting what the Democrats are doing in Gaza, supporting them while we watch what they're doing in Gaza, which is nothing less than a genocide. suggests to me the need to break out of the two-party system and to have real choices where an Ilhan Omar, a Summer Lee.
Right. Well, yeah. Bernie Sanders could have done that. Could have made a stronger independent run, but I guess he was prevented from doing that. RFK tried, failed. That is an interesting point, Steph C. Funny, he could turn non-battleground states into the deciding states. Yeah. James Baldwin, to the people who say now is not the time to vote third party, we need to save democracy. When is the right time?
What is it you wanted me to reconcile myself to?
Sorry if you can't hear this.
I was born here almost 60 years ago. I'm not going to live another 60 years. You always told me it takes time. It's taken my father's time, my mother's time, my uncle's time, my brother's and my sister's time, my nieces and my nephew's time. How much time do you want for your progress? What is it you wanted me to reconcile?
Anyways, I'll leave you with that. Thank you for your eyes, your ears, and your conscience. Let me make sure I don't have anybody to thank. Don't think so. Oh, weird. I don't know what is happening. Oh, I see. Hold on. Hold on 1 second, guys. Hold on. Okay. Y'all are great. Y'all are grand. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And every day on Black Bear News. And I will see you all on Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific. And until next time, peace.